My daughter-in-law looked me dead in my eyes and said, "She can sleep on the couch." She was talking about me, in the house I paid for, the vacation rental I spent my retirement money on so the whole family could have a good time together. I'm 67 years old, and I have worked my whole life. I raised 3 children by myself after their daddy passed when they were still in elementary school. I cleaned houses, worked overnight shifts at the hospital, and never missed a day, even when my back was screaming at me to stay in bed. I did it all so my babies could have what they needed, so they could go to college, so they could have a better life than I had. And now here I was, standing in the middle of this beautiful beach house in South Carolina, Soulful, listening to my son Darius stay quiet while his wife Shanice told everyone I would be sleeping on the couch. "Mama, it's just for one night," Darius finally said, not even looking at me. "Shanice's sister Monique is coming tomorrow with her kids, and we need the guest room." "I've been sleeping in that guest room for 3 days," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why can't Monique sleep on the couch when she gets here, or get her own room? I paid for this house." Shanice rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes at me. "With all due respect, Mama Geneva," and the way she said mama made it sound like a curse word, "Monique has back problems. She can't sleep on a couch." I wanted to say that I got back problems too, that I got arthritis in both my knees and my hip ain't been right since I fell on some ice 2 winters ago. But I didn't say nothing. I just looked at my son, waiting for him to stand up for me, waiting for him to remember who raised him, who sacrificed everything for him. He looked down at his phone. That's when I knew something was real wrong. Let me tell you how we got here, because this didn't just happen overnight. This was building for a while, and I was too blind to see it. 2 months ago, I came up with the idea for this family vacation. My youngest daughter, Rochelle, lives in Atlanta with her husband and their 2 kids. My middle child, my son Terrence, is in the Army and stationed in Germany. And Darius, my oldest, lives right here in Chicago with Shanice and their 3 children, Zion, Amari, and little Aaliyah. I hadn't seen Terrence in almost 2 years. The pandemic made everything hard, and then he got deployed, and time just kept slipping away. I'm not getting any younger, and neither are my babies. I wanted us all together. One last time where we could all be in the same place, making memories. So I took $8,000 out of my retirement savings, money I've been putting away for years, and I rented this big, beautiful house on Hilton Head Island for a whole week. It had 6 bedrooms, a pool, and you could see the ocean from the back porch. It was perfect. I told everyone about it at Sunday dinner. I host dinner every week after church, and that day everybody was there. Rochelle had driven up from Atlanta with her family. Darius and his crew were there like always. Even though Terrence couldn't come to dinner, I called him on video so he could be part of the announcement. "I got something to tell y'all," I said after we finished eating my pot roast and macaroni and cheese. "We going on a family vacation, all of us. I already booked the house." Rochelle screamed and jumped up to hug me. "Mama, are you serious? When?" "Next month, July. The house is right on the beach, and there's enough room for everybody." Terrence's face on that phone screen lit up like Christmas morning. "Mama, you sure? That's a lot of money?" "Baby, I'm sure. Y'all are my world. This is what I've been saving for." That's when I noticed Shanice's face. She wasn't smiling. She was looking at Darius with this expression I couldn't quite read, but it was gone quick, and then she was hugging me too, saying, "Thank you, Mama Geneva," in that sweet voice she uses when other people are around. I should have paid more attention to that look. The week before the trip, Shanice called me. This was unusual because Shanice never calls me. If she needs to tell me something, she sends a text or has Darius call. "Mama Geneva, I wanted to talk to you about the sleeping arrangements," she said. "Okay, baby. What about them?" "Well, me and Darius obviously need our own room, and the kids need their room. And I was thinking Rochelle and her family should get the master since they're driving all the way from Atlanta." "That sounds fine," I said. "There's still plenty of rooms left." "Right, but Monique is coming too, my sister, and she's bringing her 2 kids. I paused. "Shanice, honey, I didn't know Monique was coming. I paid for the house based on our family. I know, but she's family too. She's my sister, and she's going through a hard time right now. Her and her husband just separated, and she needs this vacation. Before we continue, please tell us where you're watching from so we know how far our stories reach, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Something in my spirit told me to say no. To tell her that this vacation was for my children and grandchildren, not for her sister who I barely knew. But I didn't want to seem mean. I didn't want to be the kind of mother-in-law who caused problems. Okay, I said. But the house is already at capacity. She might need to help with... Oh, don't worry about that, Shanice cut me off. We'll make it work. Thanks, Mama Geneva. She hung up before I could say anything else. Now here we were, 3 days into the vacation, and I was being told to sleep on the couch so Monique could have a bed. Fine, I said quietly. I'll sleep on the couch. I went to the guest room and started packing my things. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, not yet, from hurt, from the kind of pain that sits right in the center of your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Rochelle found me 10 minutes later. My daughter took one look at my face and closed the door behind her. Mama, what's wrong? I told her everything. By the time I finished, Rochelle was crying. This is wrong, she said. This is so wrong. You paid for this house. Baby, don't cry. It's just one night. No, Mama, it's not just about one night. It's about respect. Darius should have said something. And Shanice? She stopped herself, shaking her head. What about Shanice? Rochelle looked at me for a long moment. Mama, I didn't want to say nothing because I wasn't sure. But something's been off with her. Real off. What do you mean? Remember last month when you asked Darius to help you fix your porch railing? And he said he couldn't because he had to work overtime? Yeah. Mama, Shanice posted pictures that same day. They were at Navy Pier with some man I never seen before. She tagged him and everything, but then she deleted it real quick. I saw it, though, and the way she was looking at him in them pictures. My stomach dropped. What are you saying, Rochelle? I'm saying I don't think Darius was working overtime. And I don't think Shanice is who we thought she was. Before I could respond, we heard shouting downstairs. Loud voices. Darius and Shanice arguing about something. We rushed down to find Darius holding his phone, his face red, and Shanice trying to grab it from him. Give me the phone, Darius. Nah. I want to know who Levi is, and why he's texting you about last night. It's not what you think. Terrence, who had arrived that morning as a surprise, stepped between them. Hey, y'all got kids upstairs. Calm down. But Darius wasn't calming down. He looked at his brother, then at me and Rochelle, and something in his face just broke. She's cheating on me, he said. All this time she'd been cheating on me. Shanice's face went hard. Not sad, not sorry, just hard and cold. You know what, Darius? Yeah, I am. And you want to know why? She turned and looked right at me. Because I'm tired of being broke while your mama sits on all that money. We struggling to pay our mortgage, and she got thousands just sitting in the bank. But does she help us? No. She spends $8,000 on a vacation we didn't even ask for. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Shanice, if y'all needed help, why didn't you say something? Because it ain't about asking, she yelled. It's about you seeing. It's about you caring about your own son. But no, you too busy being proud of how you sacrificed and struggled. Well, guess what? Your sacrifices didn't do nothing but make Darius feel guilty his whole life. Darius grabbed her arm. Don't you talk to my mama like that. Or what? Shanice yanked her arm away. You ain't gonna do nothing, just like you never do nothing. That's why I found somebody else. Somebody who actually acts like a man. The room went silent. Even the ocean outside seemed to stop making noise. Then Rochelle said something that made my blood run cold. Mama, check your purse. What? Check your purse. Right now. I didn't understand, but I went to where I'd left my purse in the kitchen. I opened it and pulled out my wallet. My credit cards were gone. All 3 of them. Rochelle, did you? No, Mama, but I saw Shanice in your room yesterday when you were at the beach with the kids. She said she was looking for sunscreen, but your purse was on the bed, and she was acting nervous when I walked in. I looked at Shanice. Where are my cards? She laughed. Actually laughed. I don't know what y'all talking about. The cameras, Terrence said suddenly. This house has security cameras. I saw them when we checked in. They're on the website. Shanice's face changed. For the first time, she looked scared. You a damn thief, Darius yelled. You stole from my mother. I borrowed them. I was gonna put them back. We needed... Needed what? I asked, my voice shaking now. What did you need so bad that you had to steal from me? Shanice's phone buzzed on the counter. She tried to grab it, but Terrence was faster. He looked at the screen, and his face went dark. Mama, he said quietly, you need to see this. He handed me the phone. It was a text message from someone named Levi. Did you transfer the money yet? We need to put the deposit down on the condo by Friday or we lose it. Below that, Shanice had replied, working on it. Her cards should have at least $10,000 available. Once I max them out, I'll have enough to leave him and start over with you. The phone slipped from my hands and clattered on the tile floor. My daughter-in-law hadn't just stolen my credit cards. She was planning to max them out and run away with another man. She was using my money I had worked my whole life for, to destroy my son's life. And in that moment, standing in that beautiful house that I had paid for, looking at the faces of my children and the cold, hateful face of the woman who had just betrayed us all, I made a decision. I wasn't going to sleep on no couch. Not tonight. Not ever again. But more than that, I was going to make sure Shanice regretted every single choice she made. Everybody sit down, I said, my voice steady and calm. We need to call the police. And then we need to call my lawyer. Because, baby girl, you just messed with the wrong grandmother. Shanice's face went white. And that's when my real vacation began. The police took 45 minutes to arrive. In that time, Shanice tried to leave 3 times, but Terrence, who's been in the Army for 8 years and knows how to handle a situation, stood by the door and told her real calm that if she left, it would just make things worse for her. You can't keep me here, she said, her voice shaking now. All that boldness from earlier was gone. You're right, Terrence said. But you really want to run right now? That makes you look guilty. And trust me, you already look guilty enough. Darius was sitting on the couch with his head in his hands. My son was crying, and it broke my heart into 1,000,000 pieces. Rochelle sat next to him with her arm around his shoulders, whispering to him. The kids, thank God, were all upstairs watching a movie. They didn't need to see this. I was in the kitchen with my phone, and I was doing something I should have done years ago. I was checking my bank accounts, all of them. What I found made my hands shake so bad I almost dropped my phone. My checking account was $3,000 lower than it should have been. My savings account, the one I'd been putting money in for 20 years, was missing $5,500. And there were charges on my credit cards I never made. Furniture, electronics, a payment to something called Luxury Escapes Travel Agency. Over $12,000 gone. Just gone. Rochelle, I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. Come here, baby. She came into the kitchen, and I showed her my phone. I watched her face go from confused to angry to something I ain't never seen on my daughter's face before. Pure rage. When did this start? She asked. I scrolled through the transactions. 6 months ago. Small amounts at first, $200 here, $300 there, then it got bigger. Mama, you need to tell the police all of this. I nodded, but I was thinking about something else. 6 months ago was right after Shanice got fired from her job at the bank. She told us she quit, said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Darius took on extra shifts driving for Uber to make up the money. He'd been working himself half to death while his wife was stealing from me to finance her new life with another man. When the police finally arrived, it was two officers, a black woman named Officer Williams and a white man named Officer Hayes. Officer Williams took one look at the situation and seemed to understand immediately what was happening. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to explain what occurred," she said to me. I told her everything. About the missing credit cards, about the text messages, about checking my accounts and finding all that money gone. Terrence showed her the messages on Shanice's phone. Rochelle backed up my story about seeing Shanice in my room. Officer Williams turned to Shanice. "Do you have anything to say?" Shanice's lawyer voice came back, the one she used to use when she worked at the bank, before she got fired for something she never told us about. "I have access to those accounts. Geneva gave me her information to help pay bills when she was sick last year." That was true. I had pneumonia last winter, and I was so out of it that I let Shanice help with my bills for 2 weeks. But that didn't give her the right to keep stealing from me for 6 months after I got better. "That don't explain the text messages," Officer Hayes said. "The ones about maxing out her cards and leaving your husband." Shanice's face went red. "Those messages are private." "Not when they're evidence of theft and fraud," Officer Williams said. She looked at me. "Mrs. Washington, do you want to press charges?" I looked at Darius. My son was staring at Shanice like he didn't even know who she was. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I didn't either. "Yes," I said. "I want to press charges." Shanice exploded. "Are you serious? I'm the mother of your grandchildren. You're going to send me to jail?" "You stole from me," I said, and my voice didn't shake this time. "You stole my money. You disrespected me in the house I paid for, and you broke my son's heart. What did you think was going to happen?" Before we continue, if this story resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next story. They arrested Shanice right there in that beautiful beach house, put handcuffs on her and everything. She was screaming and crying, saying she was sorry, saying she would pay me back, saying she never meant for it to go this far. But it was too late for sorry. As they took her out, she looked at Darius one last time. "I love you," she said. "I made mistakes, but I love you." Darius stood up. My son, who I raised to be gentle and kind, who never raised his voice to nobody, looked at his wife and said, "No, you don't. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this to my mama. If you loved our kids, you wouldn't have thrown away our family for some man. You love yourself. That's all you ever loved." Then he turned around and walked upstairs to check on his children. After the police left, I sat down at the kitchen table and just stared at nothing. Rochelle made me some tea. Terrence sat across from me, his jaw tight. "Mama, we need to figure out how bad this is," he said. "We need to call your bank, cancel those cards, dispute the charges, and you need a lawyer, a good one." "I know a lawyer," Rochelle said. "Remember Aunt Phyllis's daughter, Janae? She's a lawyer in Chicago now. She specializes in financial fraud and family law." I did remember Janae. Sweet girl. Smart as a whip. "You think she'd help me?" "Mama, are you kidding? After what you did for Aunt Phyllis when she was sick? Janae would help you for free. Let me call her right now." While Rochelle made the call, I asked Terrence something that had been bothering me. "How did Shanice get fired from the bank? She never told us the real reason." Terrence looked uncomfortable. "Darius told me, but he made me promise not to tell you. He was ashamed." "Tell me now." He sighed. "She got caught stealing from customer accounts. Small amounts, like $20 or $50 at a time. They didn't press charges because she paid it back, but they fired her immediately. Darius had to take out a loan to pay back the $3,000 she stole." I felt sick. This woman had been stealing from people long before she started stealing from me, and my son had protected her, had gone into debt to cover for her. "There's more," Terrence said quietly. "Last month Darius asked me for money, said they were behind on the mortgage. I sent him $2,000. I thought he was going to use it to catch up on the house payment, but now—" He shook his head. "Now I'm wondering if Shanice took that too." Rochelle came back into the kitchen, her face grim. "I talked to Janny. She can meet with you tomorrow if you drive back to Chicago. But Mama, she said something you need to know. If Shanice has been stealing from you for 6 months and she had access to your accounts, she might have done more than just take money. She might have opened credit cards in your name, taken out loans. We need to check your credit report." The room started spinning. My whole life I worked to build good credit, to be responsible, to have something to pass down to my children when I'm gone. And this woman might have destroyed all of that. We spent the next 2 hours on the phone with my bank, with credit card companies, with credit bureaus. And what we found was worse than I imagined. Shanice had opened 4 credit cards in my name. She'd maxed out 3 of them. She'd taken out a personal loan for $8,000 using my information. She'd even put her car payment in my name, a brand new Lexus I didn't even know she had. Altogether, I was looking at almost $40,000 in debt that I didn't know about. I'm 67 years old. I'm retired. I live on Social Security and my pension from the hospital. There was no way I could pay back $40,000. Rochelle was crying. Terrence looked like he wanted to punch a wall, and I just sat there, numb, trying to understand how my life had fallen apart so fast. That's when Darius came downstairs. He'd put the kids to bed and his eyes were red from crying. "Mama," he said, "I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I knew she had a problem. I knew she was bad with money. But I never thought she would do this to you." I stood up and hugged my son. He broke down in my arms like he was 5 years old again, and I held him while he cried. "This ain't your fault, baby," I said. "You loved her. You trusted her. That's what you're supposed to do with your wife." "But I should have protected you," he sobbed. "You always protected us. You sacrificed everything for us. And I let her do this to you." "Hush now," I said, rubbing his back like I used to do when he was little. "We're going to figure this out. As a family, that's what we do." Later that night, after everyone went to bed, I couldn't sleep. I walked out onto the back porch and looked at the ocean. The moon was full and bright, and the waves were calmed. Everything was peaceful and beautiful, but inside, I felt like I was drowning. My phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mrs. Washington, this is Levi. We need to talk. What Shanice told you isn't the whole truth. Meet me tomorrow at the coffee shop on Main Street in town at 10 a.m. Come alone. There are things about your son's wife you need to know." I stared at that message for a long time. This was the man Shanice was planning to leave Darius for, the man she was going to use my money to start a new life with. What could he possibly have to tell me? But something in my gut, that same instinct that told me something was wrong when Shanice made that face at Sunday dinner, told me I needed to hear what he had to say. I texted back, "I'll be there." Then I went inside and tried to get some sleep. But all I could think about was that message. What else had Shanice done? What other secrets was she hiding? I didn't know it then, but I was about to find out something that would change everything. The next morning, I told everyone I was going into town to get groceries. Rochelle offered to come with me, but I said I needed some time alone to clear my head. That wasn't a lie, exactly. I did need to clear my head. But I also needed to meet Levi. The coffee shop was small and quiet. I got there 15 minutes early and ordered a cup of tea. My stomach was in knots. I kept thinking about turning around and leaving, but then the door opened and a man walked in. He was tall, light-skinned, with a neat beard and expensive-looking clothes. He looked around the shop until his eyes landed on me, and then he walked over. "Mrs. Washington?" I nodded. He sat down across from me, and I could see he was nervous. Good. He should be nervous. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "I know this is awkward." "Awkward?" I said, my voice cold. "My son's wife was planning to use my money to run away with you, And you think this is awkward? He winced. I deserve that. But Mrs. Washington, I need you to understand something. I'm not who Shanice said I was. And this whole situation, it's much worse than you think. How could it possibly be worse? He pulled out his phone and showed me something that made my blood run cold. It was a picture of a marriage certificate. Shanice's name was on it. But the groom's name wasn't Darius. It was Levi. Mrs. Washington, he said quietly, Shanice and I have been married for 3 years. She never divorced me. Which means her marriage to your son was never legal. Your son has been living with my wife, and those 3 beautiful children you think are your grandchildren? He paused, his voice breaking. The oldest one, Zion? He's my son. She took him from me 2 years ago, and I've been trying to get him back ever since. The room started spinning again, but this time I thought I might actually pass out. My daughter-in-law was a bigamist. My son's marriage was a fraud. And one of the children I'd been loving and spoiling for years wasn't even Darius's child. Why? I whispered. Why would she do this? Levi's face was hard. Money, Mrs. Washington. Shanice has always been about money. She married me because I had a good job and a house. Then she met your son and found out about you, about your retirement savings, your house that's paid off, all of it. She saw an opportunity. So she took Zion and left me. Told your son the baby daddy was a deadbeat who ran off. She's been playing both of us, using both families. And now... He looked down. Now I found out she's pregnant again, 4 months along. And Mrs. Washington, I haven't touched my wife in over 2 years. So that baby? That's your son's baby. And she was planning to take that baby, take my son, take your money, and disappear. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I have proof, Levi said. I have our marriage certificate, birth certificates, text messages, everything. I've been working with a lawyer to get custody of Zion, but when I saw she got arrested yesterday, I knew I had to tell you the truth, because you deserve to know what kind of person has been in your family. And your son deserves to know that the woman he's been killing himself for was never really his wife. He slid a folder across the table. It's all in here, everything you need. And Mrs. Washington? I'm sorry for my part in this. I should have found her sooner. I should have stopped her before she could hurt your family like this. I took the folder with shaking hands, and that's when my phone rang. It was Rochelle. Mama, you need to come back to the house right now, she said, her voice panicked. The police are here again. They found something else. Mama, it's bad. It's really, really bad. I stood up so fast I almost knocked over my chair. What else could there possibly be? When I got back to the house, there were 3 police cars in the driveway and neighbors standing outside watching. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. I ran inside and found Rochelle, Terrence, and Darius in the living room with Officer Williams and 2 detectives I hadn't seen before. One was a black man in his 50s, the other a Latina woman who looked like she'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it. Mrs. Washington, the black detective said, standing up. I'm Detective Morris, and this is Detective Ramirez. We need to talk to you about Shanice Burton. Her name is Shanice Henderson, I said, my voice shaking. I held up the folder Levi gave me. She's still married to her first husband. Her marriage to my son was never legal. The room went silent. Darius's face went white. What? He whispered. Baby, I'm sorry. I just found out. She never divorced her first husband. Y'all's marriage. It isn't real. Darius stood up like he was going to fall over. Terrence grabbed his arm to steady him. Detective Ramirez took the folder from me and flipped through it quickly. She looked at her partner and nodded. This confirms what we found. What did you find? I asked. Detective Morris motioned for me to sit down. Mrs. Washington, after we arrested Mrs. Burton yesterday, we started looking into her background. What we found is extensive. Shanice Burton, who also goes by Shanice Henderson, Shanice Williams, and Shanice Crawford, has been running financial scams for at least 7 years. She has 3 other marriages in 3 different states, all of them to men with money or family money. She's stolen from all of them. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 3 other marriages? 4, including your son's. And we believe there might be more we haven't found yet. She targets men online, usually on dating apps or social media. She gets pregnant quickly to lock them in. Then she gains access to their finances and their family's finances. She steals everything she can, and when they start to catch on, she moves to a new city and starts over with a new man. Rochelle was crying. Those kids upstairs. We're working to identify all of the children's fathers, Detective Ramirez said gently. So far, we know the oldest child, Zion, belongs to Levi Henderson. The middle child, Amari, appears to belong to a man named Gerald Crawford from Detroit. We're still running DNA tests on the youngest, Aaliyah. Darius made a sound like he'd been punched in the stomach. He collapsed back onto the couch, and I went to him. My baby. My firstborn. The child I raised to be good and honest and trusting. And this woman had destroyed him. There's more, Detective Morris said. When we searched her phone records, we found she's been in contact with several other men. She has active dating profiles in 3 states. And Mrs. Washington, he looked at me. She wasn't just stealing from you to run away with Levi Henderson. She was stealing from you to fund her entire operation. She has bank accounts in 4 different states. She's been wire transferring money out of your accounts for months. The total amount she stole from you is close to $67,000. The number hit me like a truck. $67,000. My entire life savings. Gone. But we have good news, Detective Ramirez said. We froze all of her accounts. We found approximately $43,000 in cash and assets. We also found evidence that she was planning to flee the country. She has a fake passport with a different name. Can I get my money back? I asked. Most of it, yes. It'll take time, but we'll recover as much as we can. And Mrs. Washington? She's facing serious charges now. Identity theft, wire fraud, bigamy, child endangerment, and more. She's looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. I should have felt relief, but all I felt was empty. Terrence asked the question I couldn't. What about the kids? What happens to them? That's complicated, Detective Morris said. Legally, your brother has rights to any children he's biologically related to. The other children will need to be returned to their biological fathers, assuming those fathers want custody and are fit parents. Darius stood up. I don't care about biology, he said, his voice rough. Those are my kids. I raised them. I love them. I'm not giving them up. Sir, I understand, but... No, Darius shouted. You don't understand. Zion calls me Daddy. Amari learned to walk holding my hands. I was there when Aaliyah was born. I don't care who their biological fathers are. They're my children. Before we continue, quick question. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. The detectives left after giving us more information and telling us when we'd need to come in for statements. After they were gone, Darius went upstairs to check on the kids again. I knew he was really going up there to cry where they couldn't see him. Rochelle hugged me tight. Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, baby. But you lost everything. Your savings, your retirement. I got my life, I said. I got my real children and my health. That's more than money. But inside, I was scared. $67,000 was everything I had. Even if they recovered $43,000, I'd still lost over $20,000. How was I going to survive? How was I going to help Darius with lawyer fees to fight for those kids? How was I going to pay my bills? That night, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I got down on my knees and I prayed. I prayed for strength. I prayed for wisdom. I prayed for my son and those babies upstairs. and I prayed for justice. 3 weeks later, we were back in Chicago for Shanice's arraignment. Janae, Aunt Phyllis's daughter, had agreed to represent me for free. She was a tiny woman with a powerful voice, and she had torn through Shanice's lies like they were tissue paper. Levi was there too. He'd flown in from Texas to fight for custody of Zion. When Darius saw him, I thought there might be a fight, but instead, Darius walked up to him and they talked for a long time in the hallway. I couldn't hear what they said, but when they came back, they were standing together. "We're going to work together," Darius told me. "Levi wants what's best for Zion. So do I. We're going to share custody." I looked at Levi, and he nodded. "Your son is a good man, Mrs. Washington. Better than I gave him credit for. Zion loves him, and I'm not going to take that away from my boy. He can have 2 fathers who love him." Gerald Crawford, Amari's biological father, had also agreed to shared custody with Darius. It turned out Gerald had been looking for Shanice for 2 years, ever since she disappeared with his son. He was grateful Amari had been well cared for, and he could see how much Darius loved the boy. Baby Aaliyah's DNA test came back. She was Darius's biological daughter. My son had at least one child who was truly his. When they brought Shanice into the courtroom, I barely recognized her. Her hair wasn't done. She had no makeup on. She looked small and scared. Nothing like the bold, beautiful woman who had rolled her eyes at me in that beach house. She looked at Darius, and he looked away. She looked at me, and I stared right back at her. I wanted her to see my face. I wanted her to know that she hadn't broken me. The judge was a black woman in her 60s named Judge Althea Freeman. She read through the charges, and her face got harder with each one. "Mrs. Burton," Judge Freeman said. "Or should I say Mrs. Henderson, or Mrs. Crawford, or Mrs. Williams? Which name would you prefer?" Shanice's lawyer, a tired-looking white man, stood up. "Your Honor, my client—" "I'm not talking to you yet, counsel. I'm talking to your client." Judge Freeman looked at Shanice. "Do you have any idea how many lives you've destroyed? Do you understand the depth of the pain you've caused?" Shanice started crying. "Your Honor, I made mistakes. I was desperate. I grew up poor and I just wanted a better life for my children." "Stop," Judge Freeman said, her voice like ice. "Don't you dare use those babies as an excuse for your crimes. You didn't do this for your children. You did this for yourself. And now those children are traumatized. They've lost the only stability they've ever known. They're being passed between fathers they barely know, all because of your greed and your lies." Janae stood up. "Your Honor, if I may. My client, Mrs. Geneva Washington, would like to make a victim impact statement." Judge Freeman nodded. "Mrs. Washington, please approach." I walked to the front of the courtroom on shaking legs. I'd written out what I wanted to say, but when I got up there and saw Shanice's face, I didn't need the paper anymore. The words just came. "I'm 67 years old," I said. "I've worked since I was 14. I raised 3 children by myself after my husband died. I cleaned houses and worked overnight shifts at the hospital. I went without so my babies could have. I saved every penny I could for my retirement so I wouldn't be a burden to my children when I got old. You took that from me. You stole my life savings. You used my credit to buy things you didn't need. You committed fraud in my name. You destroyed my credit that took me 50 years to build. And you know what the worst part is? It's not even the money. The worst part is that I welcomed you into my family. I loved you like you were my own daughter. I babysat your kids. I cooked for you. I prayed for you. And you looked me in my eye and told me to sleep on a couch in the house I paid for. You disrespected me in front of my children. You made my son feel like he wasn't man enough while you were out there married to 3 other men. You didn't just steal my money. You stole my trust. You stole my son's happiness. You stole those children's innocence. And for what? For Alexis? For trips? For a life you wanted to put on Instagram? I stepped closer to her, and she looked up at me with tears running down her face. I forgive you, I said, and she looked shocked. I forgive you because holding on to hate would hurt me more than it would hurt you. But forgiveness don't mean no consequences. You're going to pay for what you did. If not in this courtroom, then somewhere else. Because, baby girl, karma is real, and she don't forget. I walked back to my seat, and the whole courtroom was silent. Judge Freeman cleared her throat. Mrs. Burton, I'm denying bail. You're a flight risk with multiple identities and a history of fleeing. You'll remain in custody until trial. And let me be clear, if you're found guilty of these charges, I will seek the maximum sentence. You preyed on good people, you exploited their trust. You stole from a woman who worked her entire life. That kind of evil deserves to be punished. They took Shanice away in handcuffs. She was crying and screaming, but nobody paid her any attention. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to talk to us, but Janae handled them. Darius, Rochelle, Terrence, and I walked to my car in silence. Mama, Darius said when we got there, I'm going to pay you back, every penny. I don't care how long it takes. Baby, you got 3 kids to take care of now. I don't care. You sacrificed for me my whole life. Now it's my turn to take care of you. Rochelle and Terrence both agreed. We're family, Rochelle said. We take care of each other. That's what you taught us. 2 months later, Shanice pleaded guilty to avoid trial. She got 12 years in prison. The state recovered $48,000 of my money, and the rest came back slowly through asset seizures and restitution orders. I didn't get everything back, but I got enough. Darius, Levi, and Gerald worked out a custody arrangement for the boys. They all lived in the Chicago area now, and the kids got to spend time with all their fathers. It was complicated, but they made it work. Baby Aaliyah stayed with Darius full-time, and I got to see all 3 of my grandbabies whenever I wanted. The boys started calling me Grandma Geneva, even Zion and Amari. Their other grandparents didn't mind. There was enough love to go around. My church found out what happened and took up a collection. They raised $5,000 to help me. My neighbors started a GoFundMe that raised another $3,000. People I hadn't seen in years sent me cards with money in them. The Black community in Chicago wrapped their arms around me and held me up when I thought I might fall down. 6 months after that terrible vacation, I hosted Sunday dinner again. All my children were there, Darius with his 3 kids, Rochelle with her family, and Terrence, who was home on leave. Levi and Gerald came too, with their new girlfriends. We squeezed 15 people around my dining room table and had to bring in chairs from the neighbors. It was loud and messy and perfect. After dinner, while everyone was having dessert, Darius stood up and tapped his glass. I want to say something, he said. Mama, I know the last few months have been hard. Harder than anything we've ever been through. But you never complained. You never gave up. You showed us what real strength looks like, what real love looks like. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you sacrificed for us. Thank you for being the best mama in the world. We love you. Everyone raised their glasses. To Mama Geneva. I looked around that table at all those faces, my children, my grandchildren, and even the men who were helping my son raise kids that weren't his by blood, but were his by love. And I realized something. Shanice took my money. She took my trust. She took a year of my peace. But she didn't take what mattered most. She didn't take my family. She didn't take my dignity. And she damn sure didn't take my ability to love. I'm 67 years old. I sleep in my own bed in my own house that I paid for with my own money. I got 3 beautiful children and 3 precious grandbabies who love me. I got a church family that showed up when I needed them. I got my health and my peace of mind. And Shanice? She's sleeping on a cot in a prison cell with 11.5 years left to think about what she did. So you tell me, who really won? That daughter-in-law of mine said, let her sleep on the couch in the house I paid for. And she regretted it, all right. She regretted it every single day for the next 12 years. As for me, I don't sleep on nobody's couch. Not now, not ever again. Thank you for listening to the end. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this. And tell us in the comments what you think should happen next. We appreciate every one of you, and we read every single comment. Until next time, remember, never underestimate a grandmother who's decided she's done being silent. God bless.